Come on, Livingston. We gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Road is long.
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead!
Man, can score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates! And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta go.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Livi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football, proudly sponsored by Stjarna Apparel. My name is Angus and today I'm joined by Euan. Euan, how are you doing, man?
I'm really good, mate. I watched Prime Barcelona 2009 on Saturday for 45 minutes. Livingston were unbelievable in the first half of El Plastico. So was absolutely delighted with that performance. Our ladies team were unfortunate up in Inverness, ended up drawing 3 each, late equaliser there, but a good point nonetheless in terms of their ambitions for promotion. And yeah, all good, all good. You had a good weekend away with the GS boys, didn't you?
Yeah, it was my first taste of British Cup action in the IFA Supporters League, so the British Cup. Drawn away to Rochdale, which is always a fun time. 4-hour bus journey down, leaving the stadium at 5:30 on a Saturday morning. I don't think that was the most active of buses. Had a quiz on the way down, won that. Went into play the game. On probably we talk about like AstroTurf surfaces. This one must have been a proper first generation 3G surface. There was literally holes in it. It wasn't covering the entire bit, but. We dug in for a 4-2 victory. There was a bit of feistiness. I think a couple of...
Well, the Livingston-Rochdale games always are.
Exactly. Rivalry. Apparently this genuinely is a thing, by the way. But there's been previous battles before. But yeah, 2 sending off, 6 goals. 1 for myself and, to get 2 assists as well. So not too bad. And then, just the ensuing carnage on the bus home. But yeah, very, very much happy with how the weekend went. An unbeaten weekend for Livy, 2 wins and a draw. Can't ask for much more than that, can we? But as always, you can find this episode as well as all of our others on your preferred podcast streaming sites. So just search for Talk Livi or follow us and subscribe to ensure you don't miss another episode.
We'll kick things off by discussing our victory in El Plastico as a stunning first half display by the Lions saw them brush aside Kilmarnock.
Next up, with it being Scottish Cup weekend, we discussed Livy's exploits in the competition from previous years, both good and very bad.
And finally, I caught up with the guys from the Wyness Shuffle podcast to get the lowdown on our Scottish Cup opponents, Inverness.
It was the 3rd instalment of El Plastico as Kilmarnock visited West Lothian. First half goals from Joel Newpley, Bruce Anderson and Stephen Kelly would see the Lions ease to victory in the end. Euan, what were your thoughts in the game and, particularly that first half?
Give me 2 secs, somebody's chapping my door. Yeah, sorry about that, dear listeners. Somebody looking for my downstairs neighbour, so not 100% sure why they're knocking on my door. But back to the real business, which is talking about El Plastico. Now, Angus, as I said to you kind of in the intro, that's the best 45 minutes I've seen from us all season. Just everything about it was superb. Off the ball on Saturday, I just thought we were outrageously good in terms of the work rate to get the ball back. Kilmarnock didn't settle into that game at all in the first 45 minutes. And we were speaking just before recording. Obviously, you weren't at the game, but your dad was, and he was even commenting on the likes of Newbley's work rate to track a fullback, and the tone was set. My eyes from the two in centre midfield with Pittman and Stephen Kelly breaking out the midfield three to kind of press higher up the pitch, and it was just such a good performance, such a good first half performance, and it could have been even more than the three. That's how good it was. You know, Montano had a header which was, I don't know if it was tipped onto the crossbar by Walker. Newbley had a strike as well, which Walker's made a decent save from, but Joe would get his goal on his return to the starting 11. And the football, Euan Cameron, if you're listening, go and have a look at it. It shows that you can play football on these surfaces. It was brilliant play, back to front. Stephen Kelly kind of orchestrated it, picking the ball up off the back four, plays it out to Bradley. Bradley slips Devlin down the side, and Devlin's cross is parried out by Sam Walker, and Newbley's really quick to react and nod it in with his head to put us 1-0 up. And you know, the second goal, again, really good football in the build-up. And again, Euan Cameron, I'd invite you to go and watch the highlights of it just to show that football can be played on the surface. But it was brilliant. Great delivery by Nicky Devlin, and Bruce Anderson, superb finish as well. And I'm really happy that Bruce has got a goal, because we've spoke about it in recent weeks. He's doing a lot of work off the ball just now, and he's maybe not been getting the rewards for it in terms of goals. And we know Bruce thrives off getting goals, and it was a superb finish. Just all the pace was on the ball. All he had to do was guide it, and that's exactly what he did. Great little run to get in, little burst of speed to get in the space, and he's guided it across goal and into the far corner. And as I say, we were scintillating in that half, and the third goal comes on the half-hour mark. Again, Newbley putting pressure on, gets the ball, drives to the byline. Granted, the cross is taking a little nick, but the finish from Stephen Kelly is outrageous, and he's currently having his own goal of the season contest. Stephen Kelly, you know, he's probably got 4 of the 6 options for Player of the Year at the end of the season. So yeah, it was a superb first half. The only real sniff that Kilmarnock had was an effort from Vassell, which hit the side netting. And then Bruce had another chance as well, where he's got put in over the top and he's hit the side netting. But second half, listening to Davies' comments, I think he was maybe a little bit concerned. We were going a bit gun-ho and chasing the game when we were 3-0 up, and we had to probably be a little bit more professional. And probably the only blot on the card from Saturday's game is the goal. And I need to take the blame for this, because I had a dig at Christian Doidge and how he'd been so good at keeping the ball out the net, and of course he went and scored. Luckily it's not come back to haunt me too much, and he didn't get the hat trick I was anticipating him getting. But the goal's just it's just a really messy stramash, isn't it? There's you can't really pick it apart for somebody's lost their man or things like that. The ball's just been pinballed about the 18-yard box, and it's been bundled over the line, essentially. It's just messy at the end of the day. But we had another couple of opportunities. Jack Fitzwater broke out the back four, had a good effort on goal, parried away. Newbley had a couple of efforts as well. But the second half, we were really professional, I thought, without creating a great deal in the second half. But Kilmarnock also didn't create much. They had a lot of the ball, a lot of pressure at times, but we defended our box very well for the most part. And it was other than missing out on that clean sheet in the end, it was a pretty complete performance in my eyes, and a really good reaction from the defeat at Celtic Park. The guys have bounced back really quickly, and I know Davey made a point of saying that he thinks the changes really helped in terms of freshening the team up. The likes of Stephen Kelly came into the starting 11, Sean Kelly came into the starting 11, Newbley and Bradley into the starting 11 as well. So I think those changes did make us really fresh, and that probably helped in terms of our tempo off the ball on Saturday.
Glad to not have seen it in person. Luckily, Doogie on the bus had a stream up somehow. Don't know if it was like a VPN or something like that, but managed to see bits of the first half and such. And yeah, it's just very pleasing. I think for most of this season, we've probably not reached like our full potential, and just the matter of the fact that we've not had a proper, what we'd say, like a fully fit starting 11 for probably many games so far this season. Obviously, we've just signed the likes of Bradley there. So the first game that we've had Bradley, Newbley and Anderson all playing together, and it creates such a emphatic kind of scoreline. even just reducing that to just Nubley and Anderson, like how often have they actually, how much time has actually been given to them on the park at the same time this season? It's probably not a great amount. And then obviously you add in like some Montano back in at left back, Nicky Devlin playing back to his best, on that right hand side, getting deep and putting dangerous crosses in. But yeah, I think that's probably one of the most exciting prospects that came out of this match, is that you've seen how this team's kind of gelled together, with all these kind of players starting to come back. And it's something that you can definitely be excited by. I mean, you look at the starting 11 there, we had, no Obolai, no Holt, no Omionga, no Shinnie on the starting 11. And you look at the performance that was there. And I don't know if that's perhaps, a reasoning as to why, we are so strong, is because the players now are looking around and training and dressing room and being like, I've got to be at it, because there's a very, very worthy player who could easily go in and take my position. If you go on about Scott Pittman and Stephen Kelly just there, because if you'd asked me previously at the start of the season in the midfield, I would be saying Omiyonga and Holt have to be in there every single game. And then you throw in Kelly and Pittman, in recent kind of performances, and that, are they now the two that you're going to have to be going to? And there's maybe an alternate for that kind of third one, but it's just a good issue to have. And for a team who operates on our budget to be having this kind of an issue is always just absolutely superb. But yeah, great credit to the team for an absolutely incredible half of football, and just playing it very nicely as well. Obviously, came in for a little bit of stick. The midweek game against Celtic, where we'd have been defensive, wouldn't have done as much joy, as well as the comments on the pitch from the Hearts game as well. But it's a good thing. We actually know how to play football on it, instead of just trying long balls all the time. I think that's a subtle change that makes a massive difference. Who would have thought that? But very, very pleasing to see, and hopefully there's more of it to come.
Yeah, you touched on the strength and depth of the squad there, and I'm going to take a wee moment to chat about Stephen Kelly. Now, Kelly arrived in the summer. He was probably one signing on a 3-year deal that you were looking at as Davy planning for the future with Stephen Kelly, with the likes of Omiyonga, the likes of Holt out of contract in the summer, Andrew Shinnie out of contract as well, who can play centre midfield. And you were maybe thinking he's going to be a bit part player this season and probably be a more permanent fixture in seasons going forward. But I think it just shows you the quality that the lad has brought in and the consistency of his performances since he's come into the side. I think looking back, I think his first start was the St Johnstone game at home, where we won 1-0 and he got man of the match that day. He was superb. And I think you need to give the lad a lot of credit, because as you say, you're looking at the start of the season, you would have your midfield three set as Omiyonga, Holt, Pittman, who played the vast majority of last season together. And you can't find a way to drop Stephen Kelly out the side. He's also filled in the front three, whereas Nupley's been out injured as well. But as I said, he's been such a good signing, and for me, he's right up there in terms of a young player of the year candidate for us. I've been really impressed with him. The way, for the first goal, the way he picks the ball up and drives forward. Again, I'll kind of echo thoughts that I've had in previous podcasts, where maybe a Pittman, Holt and Omiyonga maybe don't do that the same way that Stephen Kelly. I think he gives us a little bit more dynamism in the middle of the park, a little bit more craft. And then the end product as well, you need to look at his goal on Saturday was absolutely superb. I don't know what it is about ones that come in off the bar. There's just something sexier about them. There's just something a little bit saucy about one that comes in off the crossbar, but it's a fantastic finish by him, and I'm really excited looking at him going forward. Should we be calling him Stevie Esther?
I'm not one for these kind of nicknames, to be honest. And I'm surprised that you've copied other podcasts for that kind of stuff. You and but I think as well, you look at the kind of young player. I think there was somebody in the forum. I think it was Mutter, who was part of the GS set up. He was talking about not only just Stephen Kelly there. I think you had, was it the 4 player of the month candidates? Was it Kelly, Anderson, Boyce, and Bradley? I believe.
Yeah.
Or was it there might have been somebody else in there instead of Boyce, or was it Anderson? Very kind of like a decent, young setup there. Penrice would have been in there as well. You're looking at a team now, and we've actually got quite a bright future. You look at it, you look at that starting 11. If you were to play Shamal in goals with Boyce, Penrice, Kelly, Bradley, Anderson, that's a decent young kind of like squad there. With putting in a couple of experienced heads in there as well makes it that alone is very encouraging for the future as well. Just to be looking at the prospects that are now going to be coming through. Obviously, we've got the reserve team kind of like getting up, and you can maybe see, maybe some of those will be able to come in and fill some of the gaps in that as well. And as it is for Livingston, you're probably going to be expecting to sell some of these players on. I think they're obviously talking about that in the forum about Stephen Kelly, and Carson said, it would be quite surprising if we got much more than 12 months out of him again if he continues to play this way. But hopefully, the players can get the rewards for that, and also the club can be, sufficiently kind of paid for, the efforts that they kind of went through as well. So it's just a good place at the moment, isn't it?
It is very good, and listening to the guys on Sports Scene talking about us as well, and listening to Derek McInnes.
Still last on Sports Scene.
Do you want to know what I actually watched?
So I'll give them up there.
Yeah, they had a slight glitch. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We still somehow managed to finish up last on Sports Scene. But the likes of Derek McInnes, his comments after the game, he's talking about us going for Europe and things like that. I think the league's starting to stand up and take a bit more notice of us and know that we're pretty serious about our prospects of trying to go for Europe this season. And look, we spoke about it before the game that this was probably this month our real, looking at the fixtures, our must-win game. And we emphatically went and won it with that first half display. And it sets us up quite well for the cup tie next week. Also gives me a lot of confidence going into even the Rangers game. I look at Rangers, I think, granted, they've had a very good run under Beale since he's come in, but at home, I don't see why we can't cause them a lot of problems if we play anything like we have done in recent weeks, and especially if we produce a performance like we did in the first 45 minutes on Saturday. But as I say, it's a very good place to be as a Livingston fan right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if it is maybe looking too far ahead, but you're also looking at, I believe we've got Aberdeen as well. The kind of running consistency that they've been lacking. Yeah, it's just, why not at this moment? We've proven against teams like, Hearts and that we can compete with them. There's not a reason why we should be fearing, most of the teams in this league. Obviously, apart from, the Old Firm have got much faster resources. But, you're looking at the Rangers' performance against Ross County there, the 2-1. There's goals against Rangers that you can get, and that might be the most crucial thing if we can keep it, kind of tight and whatnot. But yeah, I think the most important thing is, we don't do kind of a repeat of the Stenhousemuir game against Inverness here, and kind of take the first half to wake up after a bollock, and hopefully this kind of performance, can be continued, and I hope that is the message that has been driven into these players the next week. Go and replicate what you did in the top flight last week. Go and try and do something like that again. Make people take notice of these a wee bit more. And then also just a challenge if there's any rotation in the players for that. Go and earn your space. Go and keep a hold of your jersey and whatnot. Because that essentially is what it is right now.
We're delighted to have Strana Apparel as sponsors of Talk Livi. UK based with a Swedish soul, we are Strana. Strana is an independent fashion brand from Scotland who create high quality and stylish attire for on and off the terraces. Inspired by terrace culture, lifestyle and music, all their clothing is designed using quality materials and workmanship to combine the very best style and fit. And all of this means you get a premium quality fashion at affordable prices while enjoying a simple and secure service.
As a bonus for Talk Livi listeners, you can get 10% off your order using the code TalkLivi at the checkout. We'll also have some exclusive giveaways during the season, so keep your eyes peeled on our socials for those too. And thanks to Sterner for sponsoring Talk Livi.
With it being Scottish Cup weekend, we thought we'd take a look back at some memories from Livi's exploits in the competition over the years, both good and bad. And trust me, there's been some bad in amongst there with our record in recent years. Angus, let's get the bad ones out the way first. When I messaged you earlier on about this segment, we both came up with the exact same one straight away, which was
Alloa bloody Athletic. What's funny about this one is, I think this is probably one of the first away games that I can remember being at. Must have been, what was it, around 2004, 5, 6-ish?
2006. So it was actually back-to-back seasons we had Alloa in the Scottish Cup, and we'd beat them the year before 1-0. I think it was Colin McMenamin scored really late on, and we dug out a 1-0 win. I remember Attila Christon, that sexy 6'9" Hungarian winger with a Zidane ball patch and a beer belly that matches the biggest beer bellies on the planet, but playing on the wing. But we went the following season, so it was 2006, and yeah, it was the fact that it just tells you how bad that team was that season. Paul Lambert was playing centre midfield. I remember in that game at Recreation Park, and it took a literally last kick of the game, Richie Britton equaliser, to even rescue a replay. But the replay is just a horror story. There's no other way to describe it.
Well, with that first leg, when you're younger, you're still kind of developing an understanding of like football and whatnot. And Livy getting an equaliser in the last minute, I think I was probably starting to come to that age where it was like, I could have been like celebrating that massively. But even at such like a young kind of age, I would have been like 9 at the time, knowing it was against Alloa and stuff like that. I was just like, that was not something that should be like massively celebrated. Oh, like I think I remember my dad just being like, yeah, like definitely got like away with one there for sure. Then obviously with that, you have the hopes that going at home that you'll be able to do the business there. And somehow we managed to produce an even worse performance and, end up losing the game. Is it 2-1 that ended up?
2-1, and we were 1-0 up at half time. It was a Paul Dalglish penalty. Remember Paul Dalglish? We've spoke about him before on this podcast, the son of King Kenny. He scored a penalty to put us 1-0 up in that game, and it was, just that second half was an absolute disaster. But the thing I actually remember most is not the game, it's the following day going into school. And one of my best pals from school is a massive Falkirk fan, and Falkirk were in the same league as us that season that they got promoted the year before. And all he did, I was sitting next to him in pretty much every class, and all he did was go bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. I imitating a wasp, and I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to cry when I got home from school. It was just harrowing performance that cup tie. And I think that's probably looking back at Livy over the years, it's probably the biggest shock that we've been on the end of, because Alloa were in the second division at the time, and granted we were struggling in the top flight, but it was one of those ones I bet anyone who's a betting man might have looked at that as the cup upset, and they eventually got it after 2 games.
I always kind of just remembered, I think it was the newspaper front line as well. It's just 2 Alloa players just sliding their knees and just being like, it's probably one of the first times I've kind of like understood just being like, wow, that's like a properly upset, like that shouldn't be happening, stuff like that. So yeah, not very, very fond, and yeah, the less we think about it, the better we go on to. But other than that, Euan, is there anything else particularly bad that's screaming out to you?
I mean, one that's come from recent seasons is probably our horror story that was up at Inverness against our next opponents in the Scottish Cup, the season that got cut short due to COVID. Great day out, great bus journey up, albeit there was about a 4,000 mile an hour wind blowing. I think our bus on the way home got up to a maximum of 35 miles an hour because of the wind, which made that journey home even worse. But it was one of the worst games of football I've ever watched. I think Ryan Schofield made his debut for us, or maybe it was, I think, his second appearance maybe for us in the Cup that season, and he was beaten by a Sean Welsh free kick. I remember us giving the free kick away, Steve Lawson, who can basically miss hitting a ball and then give away a foul on the edge of the box. But it was one of those games where we'd got through a banana skin tie in the round previous against Wraith Rovers, being 1-0 down for a large portion of that game, and it was that good opportunity to get into the last 8 and see what we could do, and we just didn't make the most of it. And the performance was just so bad. It was so bad. But to be fair, the game in general was just awful. And there's so many cup ties over the years I can think of with us, especially kind of the 4th round, 5th round sort of ties. I remember a 4th round tie with Greenock Morton we got beat 1-0 at home, was just rubbish. I remember a cup tie we got beat 2-1 by Ayr United in the Scottish Cup at home. Again, just rubbish. And I think we were 1-0 up in that game as well. Mark McNulty scored. There's just so many ties over recent years that I can think of that have just been... It's just made me fall out of love with the Scottish Cup a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just been one that was just... It's hard for us to get excited about, because from like my teenage and adult life, there's been nothing to really kind of champion, in all honesty. I mean, if we're going to go on and talk about some of the highlights, one of the biggest highlights that comes to my mind, what I can actually remember, is it's still a loss. It's getting beat 3-1 off of Celtic at Hampden. At least, though, that was in a semi-final, and you could be like, cool, we were able to see our team playing against a fantastic Celtic side back then as well. I'm pretty sure, did Sutton score twice or something in that game?
Yes, Sutton scored, Larson scored as well. It was that Martin O'Neill Celtic side, which was just littered with just sheer quality throughout the pitch.
So like you're looking at something as that, which is our, coincidentally one of our the last time that we've probably, did you say it was the last time they've made it, like at least the quarterfinals was that year?
Yeah.
Behind the semis. So yeah, you're talking about that as being like the particular highlight that, I can kind of remember. One other one that just kind of bizarrely stuck with me, Ewan, is we played Irvine Meadow, beat them 6-0. Mark McNulty scored a hat-trick in that. My uncle used to play for Irvine Meadow, so I remember, obviously we played them, so my dad took us there. Uncle kind of met us as well. And in all honesty, one of the main things I'm taking away from this, Ewan, it's probably not anything to do with Livingston. So obviously my uncle used to play for Irvine Meadow, so we're in like the social bar at the club following the match, and for some strange reason, James McFadden walks in. So this decision to go and see Livingston play away against Irvine Meadow led to me meeting, the best Scottish player kind of my lifetime, in all honesty, the best kind of performer in a Scotland shirt full of great moments. So in a weird kind of roundabout way, my favourite Livingston moment is meeting James McFadden in the Scottish Cup.
I remember that time. That was one of the ones I was actually going to pick up on as like a good memory, because it's like that classic Scottish Cup, the giant killing, going to a ground you don't normally go to and things like that. I remember the pitch at Irvine Meadow was tiny as well. It was really short. Like goalkeepers could probably hit the opposition's 18-yard box from a by kick. But yeah, Mark McNulty scored that hat-trick within about 20 minutes and came off after half an hour injured. And I remember there was an Irvine Meadow fan standing behind us, and he asked us before the game, and I think Sparky was wearing like orange or a luminous yellow boots or something. And he'd asked us, who's that lad? I was like, you'll need to keep an eye out for him. He's pretty quick. And Sparky obviously went and stuck this hat-trick away, and the boy just tapped us on the shoulder when he put the third away. He went, "You said quick, you didn't say it was Usain Bolt." And that kind of always sticks with me, that little memory. But it was a great kind of away day, that one, because as I say, it's a ground that you don't typically go to. And again, I worked in a bowling club at the time when all the boys used to put coupons on a Saturday, and they all support Linlithgow Rose at Linlithgow Bowling Club thoroughly enough, and they were champion, and the Irvine Meadow were going to cause the big upset, and I was like, not a chance. And 6-0 back up the road in the hat for the next draw. But probably my favourite Scottish Cup memory and Scottish Cup tie that I remember kind of going to as a Livingston fan was just after the League Cup final. It was the same week as the League Cup final when we played Aberdeen in a replay at Livi, midweek game. I think it was actually a Thursday night, because the League Cup final was on the Sunday and we ended up playing the Thursday. And Burton O'Brien scored one of my kind of favourite ever Livingston goals, and we've had Bobo on the podcast talking about it as well. And I remember him saying he's tried to tell his kids that he scored this goal from 45 yards once, but he can't find any footage of it anywhere to show them. But that's a tie I remember most, because the buzz about the place, obviously, after probably the greatest moment in the club's history, winning the League Cup, and just the buzz going into that game. And I think we played Aberdeen, played them 4 times in the league, twice in the Scottish Cup and in the League Cup as well, because we had them in the quarterfinals of the League Cup and won at Pittodrie. So we'd become very familiar with Aberdeen that season. But I always remember that partly because of how special the winning goal was from Bobo and just the buzz about the place at that point as well. And who could forget that bonkers tie that we had with Clyde when we played the original game and Clyde decided to switch on the fog machines. We were 1-0 up at the time. I think Andy Halliday had scored. Then the game got postponed, I don't know how many times, due to a frozen pitch or fog or things like that. But we then got the go-ahead for another tie. Robbie Winters had us 2-1 up. 2 brilliant goals Robbie Winters scored in that game as well. Then once again, the fog descended second half. That was called off. Then we eventually got that game played. We had Euan Moyes sent off. Joe Hamill scored a brilliant little Cruyff turns type flick that put us 1-0 up, drew that game 1-1, and then won the replay. I think we ended up playing on a Monday night and had to play the Monday night because the amount of times the original fixture had been postponed, and won each at half time. Keegan, I think, put us 1-0 up quite early on, and Alan Lithgow, thoroughly enough, scored the equaliser, and we then had this blitz of goals in the first 5 minutes of the second half, put us 4-1 up and ended up winning the game 7-1. Incredible cup tie in the end, and the story behind that.
In all honesty, Ewan, I'm trying to think of any other Scottish Cup moments.
A few of our older listeners will be able to pick up when John Robertson scored the winner up at Pittodrie. Again, that would have been a big upset at the time. I think we were in the second division when Robbo scored that goal up at Pittodrie and we knocked Aberdeen out. So that's one maybe for our older listeners will probably think about a little bit more, because we were the minnow at that time, causing the big upset. And then obviously getting to the semi-finals in 2001, again, was a very successful season for the club, winning the first division and lost 3-0 to Hibs that afternoon at Hampden. But we have had some moments in the Scottish Cup. But I think Davy Martindale is very much of the opinion he wants to have a few more moments in the Scottish Cup, and here's hoping one of them can be on Saturday against Inverness.
We're due one, right? We're due a run.
Exactly. We're due at least a semi-final, I feel.
Come on. Be nice.
Give us a nice draw as well. If we sweep aside Inverness, give us a nice wee draw. Get Rod Stewart back in to do the draw. A wee iconic scooping the hand in, and he can pick out a nice wee home tie for us. That would be ideal. I'm delighted to welcome Stevie Riley from the Wyness Shuffle podcast on to Talk Livi. Stevie, how you doing?
I'm good, Euan. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's a privilege to have you on. Now, you're here to talk all things Inverness, to give us a bit of a lowdown on how the season's going so far. So you currently find yourselves in 6th in the Championship, just outside, I think, a point outside the playoffs. What's the mood amongst the fans just now?
Pretty split, Euan. I mean, it's half glass full, half empty, depending on who you talk to. I mean, we've been ravaged with injuries this season and stuff, and Dodge has come out and said that. And I mean, at one point with 10 injuries out, so that's taken a massive toll on any club of any sort of levels. But the football we've been playing is a bit up and down. A lot of draws. I mean, I think it's since October we've only beaten Cove and Arbroath, who are below us in the league. I mean, we're looking at 12 points at the last 39. So it just shows you how garbage the league is as well, that we're still in contention to get in the playoffs to even win the league. It's just it's been a poor league for the last couple of seasons. Even last year with Kilmarnock as well, they struggled to the end. Obviously, Pitt and Arbroath, but yeah, up and down, mate. We turned the corner a little bit at the start of the year, but poor result against Queens in the cup, and thanks to their lack of administration staff, it's done us a favour. But yeah, up and down in a nugget, Euan, and there's potential there, but there's also potential to go the other way.
Yeah, because when I was looking back at your results, obviously you're unbeaten so far in 2023, but it's quite startling when you come out with that stat. What was it, 12 points from 39 since October? As you say, folk will look at that glass half full, 5 games unbeaten. Some folk will look at that perspective as well and go, well, it's actually only 12 points from these games. So it's teetering, isn't it?
I mean, it'd be all right if we're beating the likes of Dundee's, Thistles and stuff, but the points we have accrued in terms of wins are against teams below us mean, even Hamilton, who are absolutely garbage this season, seem to have a hex on us. Morton as well, drew with them on Saturday 2-2. I think we've been lost 1-0 at home to them, and then we're gubbed 4-1, 4-0 down at their place on a Friday night, which was honking. But yeah, it's frustrating. I get Billy's frustrations. A lot of fans aren't happy with the current manager, but with injuries as well, that excuse can only take you so far because the boys are coming back now. But the football we played Saturday was absolute garbage, so that's a bit of a worry. And good for you boys coming into this Saturday's game.
Does he still wear the jacket? I mind seeing loads of tweets about Billy Dodd's jacket.
It's on it. You mean like the smart sort of coat, Jack? He's still got the weekend nipping gear on. Does like a wee pair of brown brogues as well, as all managers of that generation do. But no, he takes it off when he gets a bit spicy at weekends. You can see him in a little golf attire sometimes, a la Robbo back in the day. But yeah, the jacket will be on this Saturday, no doubt. So yeah, look out for that.
But after reaching the Premiership playoff final last year, surely the aim is to kind of repeat that, or at least challenge for the title. I would assume so.
I mean, the playoffs. You know yourselves, the playoffs are an absolute minefield, and it's all weighted towards the boys in your league staying in the league. And we were 45 minutes away from it last year, and just the 2-2 game against St Johnstone in the first game gave us hope. But by half time, we were out on our feet, and it wasn't a 4-0 game by any means. But yeah, the boys were shattered. So unless we finish second or win the league, which at this point in time looks very, very doubtful, I'd probably just finish fifth. I'd take fifth and just chuck it, because you finish third or fourth, Euan, and yeah, you're tasked with 6 games in 2.5 weeks, and it's, apart from a day at the football, you know you're not going to get anywhere. So it's second or bust for us, I think.
The playoffs are a nightmare. I know when we went up, we managed to finish second. I think we finished a point ahead of Dundee United that season, and it does make a significant difference having a week to prepare for the games rather than having 2 games to play as well. And I don't. Has there been a team come up that's finished third or fourth? I don't think there has.
I think there maybe one. I think Hamilton back in the day when he beat Hibs. Butcher was at Hibs. I think Hamilton maybe finished third or fourth, but only one team, I think. I may be wrong, they might finish second, but Hamilton's the one that I may think have done it. But if they have been, there's only been one, and if not, there's none. Because 6 games in 2.5 weeks, and it's nigh on impossible, to be honest. Especially with championship teams not having the biggest squads, do they? So
a player that has been producing the goods for you this season, I think just got Player of the Month in the Championship as well, is Billy Mackay, the evergreen Billy Mackay. I think he's got 12 goals so far this season. How important's he proved to be for you guys?
He's different gravy. I mean, we're pondering whether we change the name of the podcast, because he's 9 behind Dennis Wyness for the all-time record goal scorer for Inverness. So it might be the Mackay Shuffle in a few months. But Billy's been great. I mean, he's second time. We've been with us 3 times. We had him on loan when we got relegated, which was a season I'll choose to not talk about. But he's great. He's 34, but leads the line well. I mean, we generally play one up top with maybe a 10 or the 2 inverted wingers coming in off him. But yeah, for a boy of his age and the work rate he puts in, he's tremendous. I mean, if we didn't have Billy Mackay, we'd be a lot worse than we are at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's contributed a few assists as well on top of the goals, which just shows how reliant you guys have been on him. But looking back at the game at the start of the season, you beat us in the League Cup. You ended up finishing top of the group. One of the players that caused us a lot of problems was Danny Mackay that evening. What's he been like this season?
We've had Dan in the podcast recently. Dan will tell you he's frustrating in a way that he's got all the talent in the world. He's probably a player when the head goes down, it's hard to get it back up. Boys of that generation age sometimes they're a wee bit passive in terms of the character. I wish he'd be a bit, pardon my French, but I wish he'd be a wee bit over a dick in the pitch. Just have a wee bit of backbone about him sometimes, and just be a bit more nasty, because he's sometimes too honest. But yeah, he's lightning quick. The pitch will suit him. I mean, on an artificial surface, generally get the ball down and run at them. He's superb, and it's on a bobbly pitch. Sometimes it can get away from him. But yeah, he's been good, but he's not had that consistent sort of 4 or 5 games that he's maybe shown. He's had a couple of little niggly injuries, as most of the squad had. There's a bit of a theme with our season in terms of injuries. But yeah, Dan Mackay on his day, he was superb. I was at the game against you guys in the League Cup and tore us apart. I thought we were lucky though. I mean, Jason Holt obviously ballooned that penalty, didn't he? Or he ballooned over the bar, didn't he?
Yeah, he's one of many players that have missed the penalty for Livingston this season.
Aye. So we sort of stole him, to be honest, mate. But I think it done us well getting. we'd Kelty away on the Saturday, and then we had you boys on the Tuesday or Wednesday night. I mean, that was probably the two toughest away games that we could get. Got them out of the way, and progressed and then get gubbed off Motherwell. But that's the first time we've ever got out of the group stages. So a little bit of progress this year.
Yeah, it was certainly a bit of a dramatic game in the end with Max kneeing. I can't remember which of your players it was. He ended up kneeing in the face and got sent off, but
That's right.
almost rescued something that evening. But
Right.
Obviously a few months ago now, what can we expect from Caley Thistle on Saturday for the cup tie?
I'll do the half glass full answer, Euan, because I'm a sort of happy clapper in a way, because I always want to see the best in it. But I think you'll comfortably beat us. I don't think, as much as Billy Dodds wants a good cup run, I think priorities in the league with a couple of boys. I think maybe actually bring a couple of boys back in to give them game time, which against a higher league opposition, you think you want to play your strongest team. But I think it'll be a competitive game. I don't think it'll be a drubbing. It just depends. First 5-10 minutes, you can always tell Inverness, if we get the ball down, get it wide. The boy Henderson on loan from St Mirren is a player.
Yeah, I've seen him a few times. He's
really good
decent
player, Euan. Really good. If we play our strength, the problem with our defensive line, if you watch the goals we conceded against Morton last Saturday, it's horrendous. Going forward, good. But just at the back, we'll leak goals. So you'll definitely score. I'd like to think we can give you a game, but I can't see it more than a 2-0, 2-1 victory to Livingston, I think, but I'd love to be proven wrong, mate.
Now, obviously, you managed to get into the next round of the cup due to an admin error, it proved to be, from Queen's Park. Were you guys even aware of it whilst the game was going on? Because the guy who works for the West Lothian Courier, a local paper, was on it pretty quickly a couple of minutes after the game, thinking, I think we might be playing Inverness.
A few people at the club were aware of it. Upstairs, I found out after the game that when they seen the team lines come in, they realised that, listen, we won't see anything, but if they win tonight, then they're going to be in trouble. I didn't, to be honest. No, we had a similar situation with Effie Ambrose at Morton last year. The Friday night game, we got a horse 4-0. We thought to Stephen Grace that they hadn't registered Effie in time for the game, where they get a 3-0 away victory. But what they'd done, they signed him the week before and not announced it, which to me sounds a bit fishy as well. Why would you announce a signing? It's not as if they did anything to gain. But no, I didn't think there was anything wrong with the game. And to be honest, I'll take the progression in the cup, Euan, but we don't deserve to be there. I mean, Queens were a better team, but then they're a shambles off the pitch with a lack of construction at Lesser Hampden, and they are a modern day Gretna, so get it right up them.
Modern day Gretna, I love that one. But Inverness have had some fantastic history with the Scottish Cup. Many magical moments over the years. I'm guessing the most magical of those moments is pretty obvious. It was the victory against ourselves 3 years ago at the same stage of the cup, wasn't it?
Was that? I remember. Was Big Mutombo? Was he playing for you at the time? Did we sell him to you at that time? No, he went to Thistle. Sorry, that was a different game. But no, I mean, yeah. If everyone talks about the cup win, I mean, our cup final was the Celtic game in the semis. I think the final against Falkirk were the favourite, so we're more nervous that game. I kicked every ball in the stand, and when Tremarco gets sent off, it was one each, and Jamie McDonald threw one into James Vincent's path for us to get a 2-1 win. But yeah, it was surreal watching Inverness in Europe. We went to Romania with the boys a couple of months later to a place called Georgiou, south of Bucharest, against Astra, and it was a pinnacle. I mean, obviously, from a team that was founded in 1994 to be winning a national trophy in 2015 was pretty tremendous, but it's been pretty grim after that. I mean, there's not been many. We've talked about away days, and no disrespect to Livingston, it's not the glamour away day financially we'd like, obviously.
What do you mean? We've got a superb shopping centre.
You have. You get unlimited pasta on show with Tony's, and he does something with fine macaroni. But no, Livingston, it's a good away day. But I think if we were going to get an away day against a team that lately beat us, I'd rather take the payday, because no offence, it's going to be pretty empty on Saturday. But we'll embrace it, mate, and see what it brings to us. But it's a free hit for us, and I'm hoping maybe the players see that. Like, we shouldn't be here. We've got a point to prove after the performance against Queen's Park, so let's see.
We'll be laughing when there's tens of people there to take in this Glamour Cup tie against
There'll be a couple hundred eyeballs there, mate. Don't worry. Yeah, it'll be fine.
But Stevie, you mentioned a kind of 2-0, 2-1 prediction there. Obviously, you're one of the hosts on the Wyness Shuffle podcast. For anyone that wants to fancy tuning in at any point, where can they find you?
Wherever you get a podcast from, we've been going it's our 5th season now. So for anyone who wants to listen to 4 or 5 guys, some ex-players, get pretty pissed in an evening of a Friday night talking about Inverness, then yeah, you can get in the Wyness Shuffle. It's pretty good actually. We've got fans on from a lot of the championship teams, and yeah, likewise some ex-players and ex-Livy players like Barry Wilson, who he stole from us, but we got him back thankfully. But yeah, he saw the dollar signs and went to Livy when you were given stupid contracts out back today. But yeah, Wyness Shuffle, if you want to listen to it, I think we're getting circa 900, 1,000 downloads a month. So for a fan base of about 2,500, we're doing pretty all right.
It's really good stuff, and I'll always advocate a bit of love for Barry Wilson. He scored one of my all-time favourite Livingston goals against Sturm Graz. Brilliant goal that he scored to win a game in Europe, which is unbelievable. But no, Stevie, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I mean this in the nicest possible way. I hope you have a terrible afternoon on Saturday.
Likewise.
But safe journey if you are making it to the game.
No, I'll be there, mate. Appreciate it, and yeah, enjoy your day on Saturday.
That's it for this week's episode of Talk Livi. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in, week out. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback as always. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Euan said, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, so search Talk Livi to find us and you'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
That's it for this week. Thanks to all our listeners for tuning in as always. And let's hope for another great week following the Lothian's finest football team.
Livingston, oh Livingston, into the Premier